welcome to our English First Additional Language Lessons by Miss T.L.L. And this series we are going to focus on grade 12's revision for paper 1 for preparatory examination, and the first series will focus on analysis of cartoon. And I would advise that please take advantage of the fact that all the answers that you need to respond to visual literacy are actually in the question paper, so it is doable and easy to totalize both advertisement and cartoons. All you just need is just the techniques of analyzing a cartoon, as well as the techniques and nuggets on how to respond to questions based on a cartoon. Now, the first thing that you do when you study a cartoon, please don't rush to go to the questions. You need to thoroughly understand the storyline, and then the examiner will always guide you as to what kind of a relationship do the characters have. Is this a conversation between a mother and father? Is it a conversation between a daughter and a parent? Is it a conversation between friends? So you need to understand the storyline before you can even go to the questions. So when you get your question paper, this is the November 2022 question paper. What you need to do thereof, there's always this portion of the question where it says note. Please note, in this cartoon, the boy's name is Matt, the man and the older woman are his parents. So you always need to understand this. Please go through it so that you understand the storyline, because we rely on the storyline to understand what the cartoon is all about. And then what you need to do secondly now is to study the storyline and understand. There are three purposes of a cartoon. A cartoon can be there to inform. A cartoon can be there to educate, that is a very serious cartoon, or a cartoon can be there to pass out a joke. Normally we call that a humorous cartoon. And in grade 12 we must understand how humor is created in a cartoon. It may be in a form of a satire, it may be in a form of using a pun, like a play on words, or even the storyline itself. So don't be in a hurry to go to questions. Thoroughly understand the storyline and know the relationship between characters, like I have said. Now, what you also need to know, remember, visual literacy is just an interpretation of what you see. So what we rely on to respond to questions based on a cartoon is the character's facial expression, is the character's body language, as well as font sizes and their words. We've got what you call a speech bubble and a thought bubble. I believe now when you are in grade 12, you can differentiate between a speech bubble and a thought bubble. So in a speech bubble, these are the direct words of the character, and then a thought bubble will just be the characters thinking out loud, and the words of the characters and the font size play a major role. For example, already you see here the font size is bolded with capital letters. Mostly when the font size is bolded with capital letters is to show that the character is probably screaming, or the character is shouting, or the character is saying the words out loud. And then with reference to body language and facial expression, when you answer, you cannot say because of body language or because of facial expression. You therefore need to use what you call adjectives. So remember, adjectives are describing words. You need to use adjectives to thoroughly describe those facial features, whether the eyes are wide open, whether the mouth is wide open, or the lips are tightly closed, or the hands, even the movement of hands. So when you study a particular frame, remember, a cartoon is a series of frames most of the time. You need to also check each and every detail, no matter how small the detail may be, such as lines. Lines may be there to show that maybe there's a volume. Lines may be there to also show movement of characters in a cartoon. So when you answer, every emotion that you pick up or deduce from the frame, it must be coupled with evidence. So you cannot afford to answer any question without indicating evidence. Where is your evidence? Description of facial expression, description of the character's body language, as well as the words of the characters. So that's what we mean by verbal clue, as well as a verbal clue. It means you rely on the words, how words are written. Remember, I've already said that font size plays a major role. And then visual clue, now it will be the description of the character's body language as well as facial expression. So now let us look into this cartoon. Now we already know from the note that we have just viewed that here we have Matt, and then we've got Matt as well as his parents. in the first frame, you study the frame. Let me just do this. Perfect. You look at the frame, and why are you dressed like that? That's a question mark. You don't joke. Now, you also look at the character's body language as well as facial expression. The hands of the dead are stretched out. The mouth is wide open to ensure that, to indicate that the character is actually talking. And then, this is what I've been talking about. These are the lines. You see? These are lines. And then we also have line here. And you look at Matt. What is Matt doing? Matt is clapping his hands. And then he says, I'm going to fake an injury to meet that cute joker I saw. And then in frame 2, okay. There's a repetition of okay. A head injury might be more convincing though, son. And then he says, here she comes, go away. Why do we say go away? Can you hear the sound of my voice is a bit louder? Because go away is bolded with an exclamation mark. So you look at such. And then again, you look at the facial expression. The mouth is wide open. The eyes are wide open. And then you look at the hand. The hand is also, it's more like a directive to say to the dead, must really go away. And then now we go to frame 3. We go to frame 3. Now, here is a frame 3. Look at the words. The words are bolded with an exclamation mark. Right? The words are bolded with exclamation mark. And then, oh, my knee. Oh, here's an exclamation mark. And the font size is darker and how? Bolded. And then you look at Matt now. Matt is on the ground. And then he is holding his knee. The mouth is wide open to indicate that he's actually screaming out these words and shouting them out. Remember, because we know that Matt is screaming or shouting because of the words are how the words are bolded with an exclamation mark. And then here is the cute joker jogging along the route. And then now the cute joker stopped. And then look at the cute joker. The mouth is wide open. She placed her hand on the mouth and say, are you okay? Do you need some help? That's a question. And then Matt now is saying, but look at the transition from frame 3 to frame 4. And you must also note the difference between Matt in frame 3 as well as Matt. How is Matt in frame 4? The eyes here seem to be closed. And then the mouth is opened because he is screaming. And then now in frame 4, the mouth is wide open. And it actually, Matt is smiling here. For somebody who got an injury. That's really funny. And then the eyes now are wide open. And then Matt says, I tripped and landed on my knee, but I'll be okay. Now in frame 5, thanks for stopping. I should take you out to repay you. That's so sweet, Ad. And then we have ellipsis. It means, remember ellipsis, it means that the character is not done talking. So perhaps maybe the conversation will continue. However, let us go now to frame 6. Frame 6 is actually hilarious because Matt is still on the ground. Remember, the purpose is that he wanted to fake an injury so that he may get or grab the cute joker's attention. And so far, he is actually successful because the cute joker did stop in frame 4 to check on Matt and check if Matt is okay. And then she's also even saying, that's so sweet, Ad. Remember now, the purpose was for Matt to actually ask the cute joker out. Now, in frame 6, we've got an introduction of a new character, and this is Matt's mother. Look at Matt's mother. The legs are spread out and off the ground to show that she is running. Remember, we said that we look at everything that is included in a cartoon. Look at the facial expression of Matt. Matt is on the ground now, and then he placed his hand over his face, and his eyes are closed, and the cute joker was still having a conversation with Matt. Here comes Matt's mother. Oh, my Matty, are you hurt? Question marks. And it says, Mama is coming. And then these are bolded with exclamation mark to show that actually the mother was really worried about his son, that the son was injured. And it's a hilarious and humorous cartoon because just when Matt thought that he managed to succeed with his plan to grab the cute joker's attention, Unfortunately, the mother never knew the plan, because remember, the plan was between him and his dad, but the mother did come along to ruin Matt's plan, and Matt now is no longer successful to execute his plan to ask the cute joker out, because now, instead of just grabbing the cute joker's attention, unfortunately the mother came in now, assuming that indeed Matt is really injured. So this is exactly what you do. You unpack the storyline, you make I would say you correlate the facial expressions with the emotions as well as the words, because all of these must support the emotion. You can't just say somebody is sad in a cartoon without verifying or beefing it up or backing it up with the analysis of both visual and verbal clues. And remember, when you answer, please don't just say because of facial expression, because of body language. Those are two ambiguous responses. You need to be as detailed as possible, and the best way of doing it is to focus on particular features. It might be the eyes, it might be the hands, and you use adjectives which are describing words. Now, once you have done that, you will realize that by just using the very same technique and skills that I'm conveying or teaching you, you'll realize that already you have the responses to the questions. Now let us go to the questions. And before you go to the question, I would also advise that you go back to the storyline and ask yourself, was this a humorous cartoon or was it a serious informative cartoon? If it's a humorous cartoon, by just unpacking the storyline, you will be in a position to actually justify how humor was created in a cartoon. And then please, grade 12s, practice question interpretation. In English, question interpretation is actually very important. Please practice question interpretation. Don't be in a hurry to answer or respond without really understanding what is that the question requires. And in a cartoon, examiners will always refer you to a particular frame before asking a question. Question 4.1, it says that refer to frame 1. So it means you must go back to frame 1 and just refresh your memory. Every time, don't assume that you already know the cartoon. Go back to that frame again and just to refresh your memory to say, okay, that is the opening frame of this cartoon, and this is where now Matt was having a conversation with his father, and he was actually telling his father his plan, that he is willing, or actually the plan is to fake an injury in order to grab the cute joker's attention. And remember, when I was analyzing the frame in my opening comments, I said I studied the conversation between the father and Matt, but I also unpacked how is Matt. These are the lines that I was talking about. Matt is clapping his hands. We already analyzed the frame. So you will realize that when you get to the question, you already have what? You already have the responses. Now let us go to the question. The question says refer to frame 1. We did go back to frame 1. State 2 visual clues which show that Matt is how excited. We are not looking at verbal clues. We are looking at what? Visual clues. So it means you are not supposed to talk about what Matt is saying, because those are verbal clues. You need to talk about the visual to show that Matt is excited. Matt is clapping his hands. The mouth is wide open to show that he is smiling. There are also lines here to indicate that he's turning his head. So from the 3, any 2 of them will be correct. Firstly, Matt is clapping his hands. Remember, we want to justify. If you listen to me when I in the opening of this lesson, I said every emotion that you are able to deduce from the frame must be coupled with evidence of a description of facial expression or body language. So there are lines around his face to show that he's turning his head. 1, this is a visual clue. 2, his mouth is wide open to show that he is smiling. And then 3, Matt is also clapping his hands. So any from the 2, you will get your 2 marks. And then now we say 4.2, why does Matt's father repeat the word okay? Remember in the first frame what was happening? Let us go back again to the first frame. Why are you dressed like that? You don't jog. I'm going to fake an injury to meet the cute jogger. We are done with frame 1. And then let us go to the question. Why does Matt's father repeat the word okay in frame 2? You go back again to that particular frame where the examiner is talking about. Here she comes. Go away. You see with capital letters, and it's more like he's giving his father an instruction to go away, and then the father says, okay, a head injury might be more convincing though, son. So the question is, why the repetition of the word okay? Now the father is simply saying okay to show that he understands that he needs to go away. He is agreeing with Matt to say that he needs to go away. So it means that he is following Matt's instruction that he needs to do what? He needs to go away. That is the perfect answer for that. And then now we go to frame 3. Explain how Matt pretend to be injured. Make reference to what? One verbal and one visual clue. One verbal and one visual. So in your response, say verbal clue, then the answer, visual clue, then the answer. So remember now, the examiner say you must go to frame 3 and you revisit the frame again. Please don't assume that you already know the cartoon. Every time, go back to the cartoon again just to verify that you have the correct response. Here is a frame 3. So we are looking for one verbal clue and one visual clue. If you were listening, when we unpacked this frame, already we've got the answers. One verbal clue, remember verbal are the words. Matt is screaming, oh my knee. The words are bolded with an exclamation mark. That's how you answer. It will be your one verbal clue. And then now the visual, remember visual, we are relying on facial expression. Matt is holding his knee and his eyes are also closed to show that he is how injured. Remember, he's faking his injury. So in your answer, I must be able to hear that this is a verbal clue and then this is a visual clue. So in essence, it boils down to what I've said, that you can easily collect 10 out of 10 in a cartoon because all the responses that you need are actually in the cartoon itself. It is just that you need the correct interpretation skills to nail the questions. Now let us move along. Rewrite the underlined word in formal English. If you don't want to say okay, this one is simple. You can just say alright, like this, in a formal English. Refer to frame 5. Choose the correct answer to complete the following sentence. The ellipsis in it, remember ellipsis, it simply shows that the sentence is how the character is not done talking. So the perfect answer will be to show that the sentence is incomplete. And then now we go to question 4.6. Why are the words mama's coming written in bold? Here in frame 6, again, when we were unpacking the analyzing the cartoon, we already got the answers. We say that the mother did not understand that Matt was actually faking an injury. So the words will be bolded to show that the mother is really worried and the mother is shouting the words out because they are bolded with an exclamation mark. But in reference or in the context of the cartoon is to indicate that the mother was really worried because she did not know that Matt was actually faking an injury. She assumed that Matt is really injured. So that will be your answer for question 4.6. And then 4.7, discuss again, please, question interpretation. The last question will always want you to justify. If it's a humorous cartoon, you must respond and justify. The key word in this question, it says what it discuss. Please, grade 12s, when you answer such questions, learn to go all out and fully substantiate your responses. And for you to collect 10 out of 10, when you get to this question, leave no stone unturned. Use the entire storyline to unpack the storyline to justify the question. Discuss whether the cartoonist succeed in creating what humor in this cartoon. What you need to do, therefore, is to fully substantiate your response by simply unpacking the storyline. And in your answer, to show that you are now in grade 12, you've got the correct visual literacy skills. Don't just use the storyline without making key reference to evidence. What is evidence? Remember, in cartoons, evidence is descriptions of body language, description of facial expression, as well as verbal clues. Remember, verbal clues will use what? The words. We know that Matt actually faked an injury to grab the joker's attention, whereas now the mother came with thinking that Matt is actually injured, not knowing because she was not part of the plan. Remember, only the father knew that Matt faked his injury. So what you need to do to answer such a question, please I'm repeating, learn to fully substantiate your responses. You go back to the cartoon again. Always go back to the cartoon to say yes. And then remember, you are not going to get a mark for saying yes or no. You say yes, Matt. The cartoonist did succeed in creating a humor. Matt planned to fake an injury in frame 1, and in frame 3, he laid on the ground screaming, holding his knee, and he managed to grab the cute joker's attention. However, in the last frame, the mother came rushing and worried because the mother's words, "Mama's coming," were bolded with an exclamation mark, assuming that Matt was really injured, and that ruined Matt's plan to get the cute joker's attention and to actually take the cute jokers out. So in my answer, if you can hear me, I have unpacked the storyline, but I've also used a bit of visual literacy, and I made a bit of visual interpretation as well as verbal clues to strengthen, if not to beef up, my responses. I also made key reference to particular frames. I'm not saying you must talk about each and every frame, but let your response be fully substantiated. Matt in frame 1 planned an injury, and in frame 3 he was on the ground screaming the words, "Oh, my knee," were bolded, and he was holding his knee. He did manage to grab the cute joker's attention in frame 5. However, the mother came rushing, disturbing the conversation between Matt and the cute joker, because she did not know, and she assumed that Matt was really injured. So humor was created because not only did Matt grab the cute joker's attention, but unfortunately he also grabbed his mother's attention, whom she assumed that Matt was really successful. But also, there's one question that is not there in this November 2022 that I want to speak about. There's a question about showing a contrast. It's a possible question that an examiner may include maybe in your prep examination and final examination. When we speak about contrast, for an example, we can say, discuss how Matt is in frame 5 in comparison to how Matt is in frame 6. Here, what you are looking for, contrast, it means what? A difference. Now, a lot of learners lose, if not forfeit, marks because they cannot really demonstrate contrast. The answers are not fully substantiated in such a way that when you read the response, you are able to pick up the contrast, which is a difference. Now, when you want to show contrast in a cartoon, don't talk about Matt's feet here in comparison to Matt's head here. You are differentiating between feet and head. It won't be easier for you to show contrast. I would advise you to do this. Speak about the same feature differently. For an example, I can say here, Matt's eyes are opened. Matt is also doing what? Smiling. His mouth is a bit open to show that he's smiling. In comparison to frame 6, where his eyes are closed and the mouth is also closed. Can you see what I have done? I spoke about the same feature differently. His eyes are opened in frame 5 to show that he was having and the mouth is also open, smiling, to show that he's actually having a conversation with a cute joker, compared to frame 6, where his mouth is closed and he placed his hand over his eyes, and as well his eyes are closed, because remember, he was actually embarrassed and bored that the mother disturbed or disturbed his plan to grab the cute joker's attention. So in essence, grade 12, what you need is to unpack the storyline, understand the purpose of the cartoon that you have just interpreted, whether was it informative or humor. Where humor is concerned, you should be in a position to justify how humor was created. Every time when you answer, please ensure that you interpret the questions accordingly. Whether the question is asking about verbal and visual clue, let your responses be clearly or explicit to say, this is a visual clue, this is a verbal clue. Every emotion that you use to say the character is sad, the character is happy, you can't just afford to say the character is sad or happy without necessarily using the correct adjectives to discuss or describe rather facial expression as well as body language. The last question, where now, is a higher order question where you justify whether humor was there in a cartoon. Please unpack the entire storyline and fully substantiate your responses. I believe that this was informative, and good luck for your preparatory examination. Please do exactly what I've just said and collect your 10 out of 10. Thank you.